Well, the political uncertainty coming from Donald Trump is also affecting the political outlook here in Canada. The latest numbers from Abacus Data indicating Liberals are gaining more traction across the country. And with more, we're now joined by the founder and CEO of Abacus Data, David Coletto. David, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you, Michael. Thanks for having me.
So listen, let's take a look at your latest numbers. The Conservatives still, as we take a look at the board here, still solidly in the lead, but the Liberals are definitely gaining ground. What is happening here?
Well, I think overall, the ground underneath Canadian politics has shifted dramatically over the last number of months, right? You've got the Prime Minister announcing his resignation. You have a Liberal leadership race that is in full swing, and you basically have a daily deluge from Donald Trump raising people's anxiety in this country and getting them to I think, refocus a little bit on what the big question is that they're going to likely get asked when the next election comes. And so the result of that is we are seeing the Liberals gaining. We are seeing people becoming more open-minded to voting Liberal again in a way that they haven't been for the last 2 years. And that's putting pressure both on the New Democrats who see their vote go down, and I think on the Conservatives, although we still have them still well ahead of the Liberals, there's a lot of threats out there for Conservatives, and I think they can't take that support for granted right now.
Yeah, threats, as you say, and it seems Mark Carney is the biggest one because you have the Liberals with the most support at 28% when you tested it under the potential leadership of Mark Carney. You compare that to Chrystia Freeland with just 21% under her leadership. What's behind those trend numbers as you take a look at them, David?
Well, I think two things. You look first how low that NDP number gets when it's Mark Carney's name on that ballot and not Chrystia Freeland's. I think other polls are showing this, that there is something about Mark Carney right now that is pulling a lot of progressive voters into the Liberal tent. It's that, I think partly that he carries less baggage from the Trudeau years in people's minds. He, I think, looks like a steady hand, and one thing that Liberals and New Democrats pretty much agree on right now is they don't like Pierre Poilievre. And so as that choice becomes more clear, I think the real risk for the New Democrats is being squeezed out, and that's benefiting the Liberals, especially, at least right now, if Mark Carney were to become a Liberal leader. The other thing, just to say, Michael, is, when we ask people, what do you think about Mark Carney? He has a generally pretty, good, favorable rating. Of those who know who he is, his net rating is plus 13, which is better than any of the federal leaders right now. So he would start off as Liberal leader, at least today's, based on our numbers, and I know the Conservatives released an ad today going after him, in a pretty good place. And that's why I think you're seeing the Conservatives targeting him, because he is a real threat to them.
Yeah, a real threat, as you say. But, I will say, though, as you measure this Liberal success, your numbers do differ a bit from other recent surveys because, yes, you have Liberals gaining ground when you look at your numbers, but other surveys have the Conservative and Liberal support within 10 points of each other. You essentially have a 19-point spread. What should viewers make of that?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is this is a really volatile time. And so the polls are, for the last few weeks, have been saying some different things. And we see that from time to time. For the last 2 years, we haven't. But I think there have been times where the polls, because of different methodologies, different choices that pollsters like me are making, we will get slightly different estimates, or significantly different in the case of what we're seeing right now. But I think what we're all measuring is a shift in how a lot of Canadians are thinking about politics right now. We all agree that the Liberal vote is going up. We all agree that there are more people open to voting Liberal. And so there's a little disagreement on how firm that Conservative vote is. I'm more bullish, I guess, on the Conservatives. I don't see the evidence that they're losing that coalition that they've built just yet. But there's indicators that it could happen. And so, there's no easy explanation, Michael, for why our polls are different. But I think one of them is, that the way in which we're actually assessing how large that Conservative universe actually is right now.
Yeah, and as you say, the one commonality seems to be this idea that the ground is shifting, the Liberals are gaining because of that shifting ground. So here we are, just a few weeks away from the Liberal leadership vote, a few weeks away before those Trump tariffs are supposed to go into effect. So David, what are you going to be watching out for in the next little while?
Well, I think it's that. What is the question Canadians are asking? I think, 3 months ago, Michael, it was overwhelmingly, I want change, and I'm going to look for the version of change that I like the best. And Pierre Poilievre was winning that question. But Donald Trump every single day reminds us of how threatened we feel, how uncertain the future is. And I think more and more Canadians are actually asking the question, which of these choices, which will be clarified when the Liberals select their leader in the next few weeks, is best going to protect me, defend me against the threats that Donald Trump poses? And that is a very different question than just simply change. And so I'm going to be watching carefully about that orientation among the public, because I think it will ultimately lead then to the options that people are willing to look at when it comes to actually voting for the next government.
Okay, well, I look forward to our next conversation, David, your next poll. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Michael.